solve the equations. So in this equation, we need to get r by itself. So first we want to get rid of that -1 there by adding 1 to, we always do the opposite operation. And then we want to get rid of the 2, which is, we had times 2, so we can get a reverse times and do division. So that way we get 2 canceled and 12 divided by 2, and the answer is 6. Now, if we have a fraction and we want to get rid of this fraction 2/5 in front of x, and there are 2 ways we can, actually probably more than 2 ways, 3 ways. And so the quickest way is to multiply the reciprocal. And because technically, yes, with multiplication, we're supposed to division. So we're supposed to divide this by 2/5. But we know that the rule for dividing fraction is whenever we divide something by a fraction, it's equivalent to times 5/2. So if we have something divided by 2/5, it's equivalent to times 5/2. Keep, change, flip. So instead of dividing this number 2/5, this fraction 2/5, we're going to take the shortcut and multiply by the reciprocal, which is 5/2. So after we multiply both sides by 5/2, and they cancel each other, 5 cancels 5, 2 cancels 2. On the right hand side, we can put it as 6/1 and reduce the right hand side. So notice 2 and 6, they both have 2 in common, so we reduce then. 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then we multiply straight across, so that will give us 15. I guess I can put, we can put a 1 underneath 6, so they both look like fractions. And then we can reduce here, down to 1, down to 3, and multiply straight across to get 15/1, but 15/1 is also 15. But in this question, since we have 2 fractions, in the previous example, we only have 1 fraction. So if we want to get rid of 1 fraction, we could multiply by the reciprocal, because top 5 cancels bottom 5, top 3 cancels bottom 3. So that's why we multiply by the reciprocal. Reciprocal means you will flip the fraction, top to bottom, bottom to top. But in this problem, we have 2 fractions. So we cannot just multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of 2 fractions. So what we want to do is we want to, there are 2 ways, and the older way is to get rid of -1/5 by adding it. And when we add, how do we add 3 and 1/5? So we're going to have to get the common denominator 5 and put a 3 over 1. And then notice 1 and 5, they both can go into 5. So at least the common denominator is 5. So we can multiply the first bottom 1 by 5. So that gives us 15/5. And now we can add numerators, which is 16/5. So the old way does take a little bit time adding fractions here. So 16/5, this is how I got 16/5 from the addition. Now we can get rid of 2/3, and in order to get rid of 2/3, we're supposed to divide by 2/3, but a shortcut is to apply the keep, change, flip rule to turn this division to a multiplication times 3/2, flip top and bottom. So this is what we're going to do, multiply both sides by 3/2, and that way we can cancel the top and top, bottom, bottom on the left hand side. On the right hand side, we can reduce these 2 down to 1, down to 8, and multiply straight across, which gives us 3 times 8 is 24, and the bottom 1 times 5 is 5. So this is the old way. The new way, which I highly recommend, is to get rid of all the fractions, turn them into whole numbers. So first, we're going to look at all the fractions here. 3 and 5, they both can go into 15. So this is the LC, least common denominator we're going to use. And we're going to take 15, multiply both sides by 15. Now, since the left-hand side has 2 parts, 2 terms, we multiply both of them by 15. And then we can put a 15/1 and for those 2 with the fractions, so we can tell 15 is the top and 1 is the bottom. Now, when we reduce, 3 goes into 15 5 times, 5 goes into 15 3 times. Now, let's multiply straight across. So 5 times 2 is 10, and bring down x. 3 times 1 is 3. And on the right-hand side, 15 times 3, and that just gives us 45. So now we got rid of all the fractions. All we need to do is to get rid of the minus 3 by adding it and dividing by 10. And don't forget to reduce the fraction because they have a 2 in common. So we divide both of them by 2. Now in this equation, we have variables on both sides. So first, we're going to combine the variables on the left. 2w plus 3w. We add the quantities in front of w, so we get 5w's. And now we're going to have to combine these two, but since they're on separate sides, we cannot really combine them directly. So what we're going to do is we're going to move one of them to the other side by doing the opposite operation. So we're going to subtract the 5w from both sides because they cancel each other. And so we're going to only need to bring down that 8. And 9w minus 5w, so we subtract the quantities of w, so 9 minus 5 is 4. And now we can get rid of this 4 and that 4. To get rid of this 4, we reverse plus, we do subtraction. And to get rid of, so they can be cancelled, these two 4s. To get rid of the other 4, this 4, because it's multiplication, we do division. So we divide both sides by 4. So that's going to give us 4 divided by 4, and that is going to be equal 1. Now in this one, we have parentheses. So first thing we want to do is to get rid of all the parentheses. So we're going to distribute and distribute. Now what we need to be careful is when we distribute the number in front of the second pair of parentheses, it's going to be minus 2, not 2. So for the first pair of parentheses, we're just distributing 3. So we do 3 times 2 is 6, bring down a. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. But when we distribute the number to the second pair of parentheses, we have to distribute negative 2. So negative 2 times a is negative 2a. And negative 2 times negative 3, that gives us positive, because negative times positive is negative times negative is positive. Now we can combine like terms. 6a minus 2a, that is 4a. And we subtract the quantities in front of them since they are like terms. And we can also subtract and add these two numbers. Now, negative 3 plus 6 is 3. And so all we have to do now, so we got all the x's out of the boxes, parentheses, and we combine all the like terms. And we just need to get a by itself. So we get rid of that 3 by subtracting 3. And what we need to be careful is negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Negative 4 minus 3, you can think of it as plus negative 3. So debt plus debt, we get a larger debt. And now we get rid of the 4 by dividing both sides by 4. So that would be the answer. We could do one more step. Negative divided by positive is negative. So we get negative 7/4. Because 7 divided by 4, it's not a whole number, so we can leave it as a fraction. Now in this case, we will, because in this equation is exactly a proportion, and we know proportions have a very good property, and that is cross products are equal. So we're going to multiply and the top and the bottom, top and the left bottom, and the right top and left bottom, and the left top and right bottom. So cross multiply, and then we get rid of the parentheses. Multiply. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times negative x is 4x. 3 times 5 is 15. Bring down x, and 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. So now we're going to add 4x to both sides, so that way we can get rid of one of the x terms. And now we add 15 and 4 to get 19. So all we have to do is to get rid of this minus 3 and that 19 there. So we add 3, and then we divide by both sides by 19 to get 31 over 19. And this is already reduced. We can stop here. Now this equation has decimals and parentheses. we can either choose to keep the decimals or to choose get rid of decimals. So I kept all the decimals here. So first I'm going to distribute negative 0.15 to everything in the parentheses. So I got negative 0.15 times 5,000, and then negative 0.5 times positive x. So when we multiply these two, we can ignore the decimal point. So we're just going to do 15 times 5,000, and that gives us 5 times 5 is 25, 1 times 5 is 5, plus 2 is 75. But since we had 2 decimal places, so we're going to put a decimal point back in the answer. So that's how we got 750. And right here, there's nothing really we need to do, just put 0.15 and x together. And now we're going to combine like terms, 550 minus 750. And notice that we have more debt than credit. 750 is minus, and so that means it's debt. 550 is credit, but we have more debt, so the answer is going to be in debt, negative. And 750 minus 550, that line up the digits, and we have $200 debt. So after we subtract them, we get negative 200. Now, since we have x's on both sides, so we have to get rid of one of the x's. So I added, and this should be 0.15 here. So I added a 0.15 to both sides. So they cancel 0.15x to both sides. They cancel out. And these two, after we add them, 5 plus 5 is 0. We actually equals 10. We write down 0, put a 1 there. 1 plus 1 is 2. So that's why we get 0.20, but this 0 doesn't do anything, so we can just write it as 0.2x. Now we just get rid of 0.2 by dividing both sides by 0.2. So we have negative 200 divided by 0.2. And we can move the decimal point one place to the right. So we have 2,000 divided by 2, which is 1,000. Since negative divided by positive is still negative, we have the minus sign in front of it.